Philippians 4:6-7 reminds us, do not be anxious about anything. Paul wrote this letter from prison in AD 62. He addressed it to the church in Philippi, a city in Macedonia. Paul's purpose was to express gratitude for their support. He encouraged unity and joy among the believers. Let's explore these key verses in depth. Philippians 4:6-7 advises, in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving. Imagine approaching God with your worries, not just requests. The word anxious speaks to our everyday fears. Paul's words guide us toward prayer as a remedy for anxiety. The promise follows, the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard us. But what does that peace look like in our lives today? This peace guards both our hearts and minds in Christ. It's not just about the absence of anxiety, but the presence of peace. How can we cultivate this peace in chaotic lives? Pray intentionally, present your requests, and practice gratitude. Consider moments in your life when you felt overwhelmingly peaceful. These moments can remind us of God's promise through Paul's letter. As we rest in God's peace, anxiety loses its grip. This is a transformative journey, not a one-time fix. Embrace the practice of prayer, gratitude, and community support. Let Paul's words guide your thoughts and actions today. Explore the beauty of relying on God with every prayer. Join the conversation. What does Philippians 4:6-7 mean to you? To truly grasp the depth of these verses, we first need to look at the context of Paul's life when he wrote them. He wasn't sitting in a comfortable office. He was actually in a prison cell, facing uncertain and difficult circumstances. Imagine the weight of those chains and the fear of the unknown. Despite his physical bondage, Paul's spirit remained remarkably free. This paradox is what makes his instruction on anxiety so incredibly profound and practically applicable for us today. When Paul says, "Do not be anxious about anything," he isn't dismissing our feelings. He isn't telling us to pretend that life isn't hard. Instead, he is offering a revolutionary way to process the overwhelming pressures we face daily. Anxiety often feels like a heavy fog that obscures our vision and clouds our judgment. It pulls our focus toward what-if scenarios, trapping us in a cycle of worry about things that haven't even happened yet. But look at the immediate remedy Paul provides. But in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. He gives us a specific, actionable blueprint for handling those moments of tension. The phrase "in every situation" is key. It means no problem is too small for God's attention, and no crisis is too large for His power. Whether it's a minor daily annoyance or a life-altering tragedy, He cares. Let's break down the components of this spiritual practice. First, there is prayer. This is our general communication with the Creator, building a relationship based on intimacy, trust, and consistent conversation throughout our busy day. Then, we have petition. This is more specific. It's where we bring our raw, honest needs before Him. It's okay to be blunt with God about our fears, our desires, and the specific things we are struggling to handle. But there is a crucial ingredient that many of us overlook: with thanksgiving. This is the secret sauce that changes the entire chemistry of our hearts. Gratitude shifts our perspective from what we lack to what we have. When we combine our requests with thankfulness, we are essentially acknowledging God's past faithfulness. We are reminding our own souls that the same God who helped us yesterday is already standing in our tomorrow. This combination of prayer and gratitude acts as a spiritual pivot. Instead of staring at the mountain of our problems, we begin to look at the magnitude of our God. It changes the internal atmosphere of our minds. And then, the result is described in verse 7, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This isn't just a nice sentiment, it's a promise. Notice how he describes this peace. It transcends all understanding. This means it doesn't make sense according to human logic. You can have peace even when your circumstances suggest you should be falling apart in pieces. It's a supernatural calm that arrives in the middle of the storm. It's the ability to breathe deeply when everyone else is panicking. It is a gift that cannot be manufactured by willpower or positive thinking alone. Paul uses a military term here: will guard your hearts and your minds. The Greek word used for guard implies a garrison of soldiers standing watch over a city to prevent any enemy from breaking in. In this metaphor, your heart represents your emotions and your mind represents your thoughts. Anxiety tries to invade these two areas, spreading chaos and fear. But God's peace acts as a sentry, keeping the darkness out. This protection is rooted in Christ Jesus. Our peace isn't found in a change of circumstances, but in a relationship with a person. When we are anchored in Him, the waves may toss us, but they won't sink us. Let's look at a real-world example. Imagine someone facing a sudden job loss. The natural reaction is panic, fear of bills, and identity crisis. The world says, worry, because you have a reason to. But applying Philippians 4:6-7 looks different. They bring the fear to God. They pray for provision, but they also thank Him for His past provision and the skills He has given them to find new work. Suddenly, a peace that shouldn't be there settles in. They still need a job, but the paralyzing fear is replaced by a steady confidence. They move from a state of panic to a state of purposeful action. Another example might be a student facing overwhelming exams. The pressure to perform can be suffocating. Instead of spiraling into sleepless nights, they pause to hand over their academic anxiety to the one who provides wisdom. They pray for clarity and focus, and they express thanks for the opportunity to learn. The guard begins to work, protecting their mind from the intrusive thoughts of failure and keeping them centered on the task. We must realize that prayer is not a magic wand that makes all problems vanish instantly. God doesn't always remove the mountain. Sometimes He gives us the strength to climb it with a peaceful heart. The goal of this biblical strategy isn't just stress management. It's spiritual transformation. It's about learning to rely on a strength that is much greater than our own, moving from self-sufficiency to God-dependency. As you go through your week, I challenge you to watch for those anxiety triggers. When you feel that tightness in your chest or that racing in your mind, treat it as a signal to pray. Don't fight the anxiety with more anxiety. Don't try to argue yourself out of it. Instead, turn the worry into a conversation with God. Use the formula, request plus gratitude equals peace. Remember, you are not alone in your struggles. The God who commanded the stars to shine knows the exact weight of the burdens you are carrying right now. He is ready to receive them. May you experience that transcendent peace today. May your heart be guarded and your mind be stilled by the presence of Christ, regardless of what the world around you might be doing. As you move through your week, try to identify the specific triggers that spark your anxiety. Is it a deadline, a relationship, or an uncertain future? Once you name the fear, bring it directly to the altar of prayer, turning your worry into a conversation with the Creator. Consider the difference between worrying and praying. Worrying is a circular loop of what-if scenarios that lead to nowhere. Prayer, however, is a directional movement where we release the heavy lifting to God. It transforms our mental noise into a focused plea for divine guidance. Think about the concept of gratitude mentioned in the verse. Gratitude acts as a spiritual anchor. When we list our blessings, even the small ones like a warm meal or a kind word, we shift our perspective from what we lack to the abundance that is already present. Don't mistake peace for the absence of trouble. Real biblical peace is being calm in the middle of a storm. It is an internal stability that doesn't depend on your external circumstances, but rather on the unchanging character of the one who holds your hand. When you feel the panic rising, take a deep breath and recite these promises. Let the truth of God's sovereignty penetrate the fog of your fear. You aren't just reciting words, you are reclaiming the ground that anxiety has tried to steal from your soul. Practical application is key. Maybe create a small prayer card with this verse to keep on your desk or as your phone background. Having a physical reminder helps pull your wandering mind back to the truth whenever the chaos of life begins to feel overwhelming. We conclude this study with a prayer for you. May the peace of God, which surpasses all human understanding, act as a sentry at the door of your heart, protecting you from every intrusive thought and every shadow of doubt that tries to enter. Consider a time when you felt completely out of control. In those moments, the difference between panic and peace isn't the absence of trouble, but the presence of prayer. By handing your specific burdens to God, you shift the weight from your trembling shoulders onto His everlasting arms. As you step back into your daily routine, remember that this peace is a gift meant to be lived out. It is not a one-time event, but a continuous rhythm of trusting God through every small worry and every massive crisis that comes your way.